Here in Salamanca, Spain, President Ashton has been working with leaders from 5 continents to forge a new groundbreaking alliance.
Today, we make history.
His Vantage Point, Edgar Ramirez, one of the stars joining us right now. Talk to me about the character you play and some of the special training you actually did to prepare for this character.
Yeah, the nightmare of the training. Yeah, because the thing is that my character is a special forces agent from an unspecified army who gets himself involved in this international intrigue, you know, against his will, and he's a guy who's trying to walk out and then is forced to walk in.
So where did you go for your special forces training?
I mean, I trained with real special forces agents. One of them happened to be one of my best friends.
Oh, really?
We never thought that our, you know, lines of work would ever collide, and they did.
So he was a friend from outside the acting community.
Exactly.
And he's special forces guy now.
Exactly. So he's a childhood friend. So you could imagine, you know, the kind of hard time that he gave me through training, because, I mean, he really wanted me to make him proud. You know, he said, "Hey, my name is on stake, so you better do your job right, and you make it, you know, believable."
It'll reflect
but it was
on him.
Great. Yeah, it reflects on him, and of course, I mean, we went through the whole, you know, technical preparation, you know, defense, you know, tactics and techniques and all that.
Do you like it? Was it fun? I mean,
it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun. It was hard. It was really intense, but what I really tried to put my focus on was on the, you know, human side and human part of these guys. I mean, we all tend to think that, you know, special forces agents and people involved in militaries, they're these sort of androids, you know, these sort of robots who don't feel, they don't hesitate, they don't make love, they don't kiss their children goodnight, you know, they don't have fears, and for me it was very important to explore that dimension, so I could, you know, give more humanity to the
so it's not a cliche you're dealing with, but a real human being.
Exactly, because I mean, that's what acting in movies are all about, you know, trying to recreate the human nature, but doing it, you know, do it fully, you know.
Talk to me about coming to acting, because this, you've done other stuff. I mean, here we are in this big political year in this country. You know more than a little bit about rocking the vote, I understand, back in Venezuela?
It was in Venezuela, I mean, my father was a military attaché, so I spent most of my childhood, you know, traveling. You know, I was like all over the place, a military brat going here and there. And I intended to become a diplomat. That was something I was very interested in, international relations and all that field. And I started mass communications, and I specialized in political communication. However, I was always very, you know, attracted by you know, the world of performing arts. So when I was in school, when I was in my university, I tried to do both at the same time, but never thought of acting as a career. For me, it was more as a hobby, but not a career. Long story short, I was, you know, in charge of the international promotion of this movie festival in my university, and we had jurors from, you know, different countries in Latin America, and I met this Mexican professor who offered me to be, I mean, he had seen one of my works, you know, on a French short film that I made, you know, out of a favor, and then he saw me there, and he proposed to me to be in a movie that he was putting together in Mexico. The thing is that year I was going to the Harvard National Model UN, I was doing my stuff. And then 3 years later, he comes back to Venezuela, but this time he wasn't coming from Mexico, he was coming from Cannes, and the movie was Amores Perros. That was the movie that he you know, offered me. So that made me realize, I mean, why don't you give it a shot? But in the meantime, I was working as executive director of Dale al Voto, which was an NGO aimed to foster democratic values among young people. And we were
in Venezuela.
In Venezuela.
How did that go over with President Chavez?
Well, it was right at the beginning of the whole transition when President Chavez got in office, and at that time people were not very politically involved, or at least politically aware. And our goal as an NGO was to try to make the new voters understand the importance of participating and the importance of understanding their impact that we as young people can have in the destiny of our countries. So for us it was very important, you know. I mean, we were really focusing on the right and duty of voting.
Right, which is a tough, in any country.
Yeah.
I mean, I was part of that generation back in the early 70s when they lowered in this country the voting age from 21 to 18. And, I mean, Vietnam was going on, and we really thought everybody was going to go out there and really get involved.
Yeah.
And many didn't. I mean, many didn't. And it's an admirable struggle. This year, I mean, if we believe what we've seen thus far, there may be a greater level of involvement by young people, perhaps, than ever before.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important because those are going to be the leaders, and you just have to get involved. I mean, I believe in practical politics. I believe in the kind of politics where 5 guys get together, you know, to try to, I don't know, repair the. I don't know, if you have a problem with the light in your building, if you have a problem with electricity in your building, in your dorms, and you get together and you try to discuss and try to come up with a solution, that is politics going on. I mean, those are the politics.
You're building a consensus, you're trying to get action taken, you're trying to accomplish something.
Exactly.
Good.
I mean, I believe that politics are, you know, it is the highest social science. I mean, the fact that probably 90%, you know, of politicians don't pay honor to that doesn't mean that, you know, the other 10% are trying to do good stuff, and I prefer to focus on that.
Got to count on them all the more, don't we?
Excuse me?
We have to count on them all the more.
Yeah.
Do you ever, I mean, you have such a great thing going right now. Do you ever envision the possibility of getting into politics on a more active level again?
I don't really know. Probably. It is very hard for me not to